And we are live! Woo! Right, welcome along everybody. Welcome along to Adorama TV. For those that don't know me, let me introduce myself. Hello! I'm Gavin Hoey. I'm one of the presenters right here on Adorama TV, and you are watching a live stream. Unless you're watching the recording, in which case this is the recording of a live stream, but recorded live. I hope we've got some people here with us. I don't know. I'm completely unaware of it. So if you are here, say hello in the comments, give us a wave, let us know where you're from. I'm not alone in the studio. I have a couple of people helping me out today. So we've got Freya on the super switcher and, oh yeah, round of applause. And Sam doing the comments. Hello, Sam.
Hey, everybody. We've got people here.
Oh, we have?
We have.
Oh.
Yeah.
Thought it was just us.
So nice. Lots of people. Would you like to know where some people are from?
Yes, I'm going to do a little bit. You say
carry
hello.
on.
Yeah,
we've got Knoxville. We've got Scotland. We've got Rome. Oh, how fantastic. Norway. We've got Gloucester. We've got Germany, Arizona, Finland. Oh, my goodness, they're everywhere. Nigeria, India, North Wales. Hi, wow. Everybody.
That's amazing. Well, fantastic. Great to have you all here. What are we going to be doing today? Let's get straight on with it because we have got plenty to do in the next hour or so. Home Studio Essentials is the title for this live session. And for anyone that's seen some of my lives before, you'll notice that my studio is looking a little bit different. And that's because this is the bit you don't see. This is actually reversed of the studio where we've got the whole kitchen-y kind of thing, because I'm going to show you what it takes to do photography, portrait photography with flash in a place that's not really designed for it. This end of the studio is never designed to be seen. And I wanted to make it look as real as possible, so I didn't even bother tidying this area up here. Actually, that is all designer tidying. Actually, we'll go with that. Let's call it designer tidying. Edit that bit in, Freya, that would be fine. Designer tidied on the desk. It's the real world. I wanted to simulate that, so I'm going to show you different ways that we can work with this space and that space to try and get some pictures. And it's a fairly it's not a beginner session, but it's a fairly back to basics session. I'll guarantee you will learn something during this session, even if it was you could have spent an hour doing something more useful, but hopefully not that. Hopefully we'll learn something photographic as we go along. So where are we going to start? Well, you might think I'm going to start with lights, cameras, and so on. And you're kind of right, but I'm actually going to start with a promo. This is a first. Adorama have given me a promo. I've never had a promo before. Freya, press the button. Look at that, it works. Adorama have sorted out some of my favorite kit and made a promo out of it. So there is a whole bunch of stuff. If you're in the market for some new kit, there is a massive discount. And all you have to do is go to the web page, which Sam has pasted into the comments. Wow. We are really working this, and use the coupon code GHVIN 2023 and you'll get a nice little discount. Okay, I'll mention that again as we go through. So let's go back to this, because gear is actually where we're going to start, but I'm not going to start with what you might imagine. I mean, for this to work, there's a few essential bits of kit. You're going to need a flash, you're going to need a light stand. You don't necessarily need a flash meter, but I will be using mine. And you're going to need a softbox. But I'm actually going to start by talking about these bits. Because if you're in the market for a new bit of kit, don't worry about this stuff. Worry about this. These are the bits you actually interact with. So these are the transmitters. Choose your transmitter rather than choosing your brand of flash, because this is the bit you're going to look at and touch and use. And Flashpoint have got a whole bunch of transmitters. I think I've got about 5 different transmitters, and they will all operate my flashes perfectly well. But look at the bottom of them. This is the interesting bit. So this one is a cheap basic transmitter. It has just a single pin. It will work on absolutely any camera. This is a more advanced one. This is a dedicated transmitter with multi-pins, and this one is specifically for, notice it's back to front, the little O. This is really hard to do backwards. O for Olympus. So make sure you get the right one for your camera brand. C for Canon, S for Sony, N for Nikon. I don't know what Fuji would be. I wonder what they'd put for Fuji. You get the idea. So whichever lighting brand you use, make sure you choose the transmitter that you're going to be most comfortable with. I use Flashpoint stuff, and if you're in the market for one flash, get this one. This is the Flashpoint Explore 300 Pro. So one of the things you're going to find when you're working in a small home studio, kit matters. And And it matters more than you might realize when you're starting out, because most of the time your kit is going to be stored away somewhere. It's not going to be left set up. So you need kit that is small, durable, and easily packed away. Sadly, that often means it isn't going to be the cheapest kit. It's going to be stuff that's a bit more expensive, like battery-powered lights. No cables, much easier and quicker to set up. Going back to our sort of basic theme, I'm going to go back right to basics and show you camera settings, because you've got to get them absolutely right. And we often just sort of skim over this on our live stream. So I thought, well, this is a perfect opportunity to explain one important thing. And to do it, I need an assistant. Luckily, I've got an amazing assistant. Give Sophie a round of applause. Whoa. In you come, Soph. Have a seat. Oh, live. Do love a live stream.
Sounds similar.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? So I'm going to quickly set up a light. And I'm going to dial in some default settings. So you often hear me and Daniel and everybody else at Adorama bang on about no flash, no picture, getting control of the ambient light and all of that stuff. But do we know why? So there's a few default things I dial in. For example, I generally work around about f8, not always. f8 for a good depth of field. I generally work around about ISO 200, the native ISO for my camera. Not always, but generally. And then I generally work at 250th of a second, something called my flash sync speed. Oh, that works. But what does that actually mean? So let's explain what flash sync speed is and why it matters so much. This is an old camera. I'm prepared to risk it with an old camera. Have a little look inside of my lens. You can see the sensor sort of glowing red. If I press the shutter, did you see two sets of curtains fly across? It's a ½ a second exposure, so you can hopefully see that on the live. There we go. One more. So there is two curtains that operate inside your camera. Physical curtains that open and close your sensor to light. Getting the gap between them right is your shutter speed, or your flash sync speed in this case. So let's show you wrong. And I can do that with the basic single pin transmitter. Here we go. Let's turn this on. Okay, Sophie, here we go. Brace yourself. I'm going to dial in f8, ISO 200, and 1,000th of a second. Okay, here we go, Sophie. I like the way you pose, even though we know what's going to happen. Jump over to my laptop. Okay, look at that. What I've got is no flash, no picture, but not in the usual way, because there is a bit of a picture. Can you see it right down the bottom there? So at 1,000th of a second, the two curtains are traveling so fast, there's not enough time for the whole sensor to be exposed when the flash fired. I'm going to wind my shutter speed to a slower and slower shutter speed. Leave the photo on the screen, Frey. That's perfect. Okay, here we go. Let's see what happens. So we were at 1,000th of a second. This is 800. This is 640. This is 500. This is 400. And this is 320th of a second. I'm not worried about the exposure, but what I'm worried about is that black line. And you can see at 320th of a second, I've got a clean image. If I go backwards, you can see that the shutter speed is affecting my picture by blocking some of the light. That's the shadow from the curtain, the second curtain inside of the camera shutter mechanism. So for my camera, the flash sync speed is 320th of a second. The official flash speed is 250th. I think they like to err on the side of precautions and safety. So that's why I'm going to use 250th of a second. That's a really good test to do with your cameras to see what you get. Okay, so I'm going to be at 250th of a second, and that's why. And I'm going to use that knowledge to make this disappear. This disappear. That's good. Okay, there's a question. Go on, Sam, there's a question.
Yeah, the question is, what is the size of the space?
Oh, someone was going to ask, weren't they? That's a really good question.
Yucks.
It is a small space. It is 15 feet from Sophie over here. I know it looks wider, but this is a really wide angle lens, okay? Really wide angle lens. And to here, which is the edge of my rug, and about as far as I can go before I get really close to the cameras is 8 feet. So 15 by 8 is my working space, or some meters by some slightly less meters. Sophie, you're going to come over this side, and I'm going to get you to stand with this wonderful background. So if you've ever done any work on location, you've gone around someone's house, this is a scenario you might be familiar with. You just find yourself stuck in somewhere that is not really appropriate for photography, but you've got to take a picture anyway. So I'm going to make this background look amazing. Okay, Sophie, here we go. Let's just get my flash and dial in the settings we had before, 320th, f8, sorry, 250th, f8 ISO 200. Here we go. I'm using TTL just for the convenience of TTL. Okay, this is what I've got to beat. Okay? I mean, it's not bad. I've taken worse. I've taken worse today. So how am I going to make this better? There's a few ways I could make this better. I don't know if anyone's got any suggestions at this point. How can I make that background better? Okay, whilst you're having a little think, I'll actually do it the way I'm going to do it. I'm going to put this light really close to you, Sophie. Here we go. There we go. Smash in. And we'll pop Sophie at the back edge of the softbox. So there are lots of ways I could do this, but the way I'm actually going to do it is move the light much closer to Sophie. And did you notice I've also angled it away from the background? Yeah, go on, Sam. What have we got?
So you've had some suggestions. Well, Matt said digital clock.
There's nothing wrong with my clock. It's my granddad's clock.
Feather the light.
Yes.
Feather the light. Shallow depth of field. Bring the light closer. Move the light closer. Maybe put a grid on and black it out. Feather.
Yeah. There's loads of good. The answer is actually all of those and combined. It's very rare that one thing will do absolutely everything. You often find with photography, you have to mix and match, especially when you're in a small home location because you don't have the luxury of space. So feathering the light it would work, but it's just going to bounce off the walls around here. Putting a grid on the light might work. Definitely getting it closer, that's going to work. Let's see how much it worked. Okay, Sophie, here we go. Okay, so we were. Oh, it's good job we're not live streaming these. That would be terrible, wouldn't it? We were a little bit of illumination, but now we are slightly less in illumination. And the reason for that is light is coming out of this softbox at 180 degrees, more or less. There's no direction to a softbox. Everybody thinks that softboxes, because they're sculpted and shaped, push the light in one direction. That's not how they work. It's the last surface that the light leaves that sculpts and directs the light. And in this case, it's just a flat surface. So it's just going boing pretty much everywhere. So it's darker because we got it closer. But somebody suggested a grid. Absolutely. If you're in the market for a softbox, I kind of like the 2x3s or a similar sized octabox, but whichever one you get, make sure you get, either with it or as an optional extra, an egg crate grid. These things are just essential, especially in a small home studio. Yeah, go for it, Sam.
I just wanted to read this one out. This is Fabrice has suggested feathers rather than feathering, as in lots of them on Sophie's head, hiding the clock.
Oh, that's a good idea. That's a really good idea. Okay. You go get one of the chickens and I'll fashion a headdress.
We've got a molting chicken, actually.
We have got a molting chicken, yes.
So Mark has said, how does the shutter fire after you lift your finger? Because it seems that you lift your finger off and then the shutter fires.
It's magic. Just out and out magic, pure magic. And no, it should fire exactly the same time. If you're listening to the beep, so I'm going to press, here we go, I'm going to press the shutter. Hang on, let's get it in focus first. Oh, yeah, I can see where you're going with this one, Mark. Okay, so I'm currently in TTL mode. Oh boy. There we go. I'm in TTL mode just to get the exposure quickly and roughly right. And that fires a pre-flash followed by the main flash. And you can actually hear the double flash if you listen really carefully. Hang on, Sophie, here we go. Best picture of the day. It's like,
definitely think of
did it? It's all right, no one's showing that one. They don't show that one. That's
so bright.
Okay, also the beep you hear is marginally afterward as well, because it has to recycle the flash, and the beep is telling me when the flash has been recycled. So it happens instantly. It just feels like sometimes it doesn't. But I will switch off the TTL and go into manual mode, because I prefer manual, and I can tell you we're at 1/16th power to get that shot. Okay, so 1/16th power. Here we go. So with the grid on, everything gets much darker. The light doesn't spill left and right, up and down as much as it did before. So now I have much more control. I think I want to go a little brighter than that. I don't trust that. I'm going to take it up a whole stop to 1/8 power. Okay, we're getting a little bit of catch. You can just see it on that side over there, on the left-hand side. So we're going to feather the light tiny little bit. Just take a little step towards me. So thank you very much. Okay, great stuff. Yep, a little bit. Oh, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to do one other thing. I've got one other thing I can do as well. I could just knock down, because we've got really bright room lights in here, knock my ISO down and take my aperture up. There we go. So I'm juggling my settings. I'm looking at the results, juggling my settings to try and get myself what I'm after. There we are. So I had to lower my ISO down to remove any room light from the picture, take my aperture down as well to remove any room light from the picture, because it was the ambient light, these super bright video lights, that I was just capturing a tiny bit of. Yeah, that's fantastic. So that works really well. We've turned our kitchen, I can angle that way now, into a dark space. Now there is a little hint of the softbox coming through. That's hardly a difficult Photoshop job. That's just a very quick and easy thing to remove. But it is very directional light. It is very dark on the left-hand side. So we're going to fix it. Let's fix it. Let's fix it. So there are plenty of ways I could fix this. I mean, there are lots of ways we could fix it. Let's just do the easy way. Because if you're in a small home studio, you may find you need something that is quick, reliable, and repeatable. And the easiest way to fix this is probably not getting another light and setting it up, which is the obvious answer, but bagging yourself just a cheap 5-in-1 reflector. Okay, white side, silver side. We're going to go with the silver side in this case to bounce maximum light. We need to pop this into the scene. There are so many ways we could do this. Let's grab another bit of kit.
Take a question.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so Matthew said, when I feather the light like that, there's no catch lights in the model's eyes, but Gavin always seems to get catch lights. Is there a trick I'm missing?
You've probably feathered it too much. So if you can't see a catch light, you haven't got any direct light reaching their eyes. What I'll often do with Sophie is say to Sophie, Sophie, if you look at the light, can you see any of the white? If she says yes, then light is going to reach her eyes. Okay, if you can't see the softbox, no light is literally going to reach her eyes. So that's a quick, simple question. Ask your model, can they see the softbox? If they say no, turn their head towards the light. Okay, so things have to be multifunctional. If you're working in a home studio, everything needs to do more than one job. This is a magnetic background support from Manfrotto. This is now a magnetic reflector support from Manfrotto. Not what it was designed for, but it'll work. There we go, we'll just attach that. Okay, and we can fill in the shadow side by just popping a reflector on the opposite side to the flash. It's a passive reflector. There's no real control over this other than moving it. It's just going to work. So I don't have to set anything up. I don't have to adjust anything. I can literally just dive in, and now I have a fill. And you can see it on the left-hand side, that little shine. Sorry, Sophie, I need to squeeze past you. This little shine just here. There it is. So that is the reflector doing its job. And I can just see a little bit of the light, but I can live with that. I can live with that. Okay, I'm actually going to move the reflector back. Just a tiny little bit. So a quick little thing you can do. Try this. If you've got a simple setup like this, take a wide picture. Wide pictures are really useful because they tell you what's going on in the scene I love that Sophie poses even on my sort of like, just my behind the scenes pictures. So you can see the reflector is only reflecting on that very edge. The whole reflector isn't in use. And that's very useful to know. That's how we learn, because we can now see which bits are reflecting and which bits I can safely ignore. So I can safely ignore everything at the back because it's not doing anything. Okay, let's try that again. Just going to find my spot. That's great. Fantastic.
Can you take a couple of questions?
We can take a question. You want to put a jacket on whilst we're, because it's really cold in here. It's like an oven in here.
It's quite warm. So Maxime asked, I always happen to find TTL lighting too bright for artistic reasons, results. Is my gear or my knowledge the problem, or what? No,
it's your knowledge is the solution, not the problem. Your personal interpretation of what light should be is not a problem at all. It is the cause, shall we say. So TTL, like any other metering system, is a guide. It's not an out-and-out rule. Don't feel that you are a slave to these settings. It's only going to tell you what it thinks is average, and you're not an average photographer. So you want it brighter? Make it brighter. You want it darker? Make it darker. You're in control, not the TTL, and that's why I tend to use manual. Well, that sounded really good, actually. It's like, oh, yeah.
And Joe asked, is there a reason why you picked the silver side instead of the white side of the reflector?
Yeah, good question, Joe. The simple answer is power. Bouncing onto dark clothing, dark hair, you want the maximum bounce you can get. If we use the white side, it would be a lot. Whoa, just spin it around. It'd be quicker just to do this. There we go. Right.
And I'm definitely reading this one out. This is from Matt.
Let's go take a test photo.
Gavin is like photography Yoda, so wise. I think you have to mix that sentence up, Matt, though, don't you, to get it Yoda-ish?
Oh, get you and your Star Wars knowledge. Yeah. Okay, versus silver. Okay, let's have a quick little look and see if we can spot any difference. The white doesn't really do a great deal. There's not much going on with the white. The silver is just throwing a little bit more light in there. So, you know, it's a matter of your preference. But I kind of like that. Okay, we'll do a couple more photos like this and then we'll move on because time is ticking away so quick.
Just going to read this.
I'm going vertical.
So Benson said, just bought a light and a C-stand. Thanks for the coupon.
Hey!
So we've got a promo. Gavin will go through the things that are in the promo in about 10 minutes.
Fantastic. I should have said the other way to get rid of the clock is just shoot vertically. So much easier, isn't it? Problem solved. Yeah, gorgeous. Love those. Okay, so we've taken the kitchen and made it disappear thanks to a little bit of understanding of camera settings and how light works. But we've got a white wall. Why are we doing this? We've got a lovely white wall. Why am I making life difficult for myself? Come on, Sophie, over you go. Onto the white wall. Let's throw this out the way. Tidy the set as I go, which is the other thing you try to do as you're working in a small space. Try to tidy as you go along. I mean, I say that. I don't think I've ever done it, but it sounded like I meant it, though. Some of them least tidy photographers. Well, they're me, basically. That is me. Okay, anyway, white wall. We could just use exactly the same lighting, and I'm a big believer in recycling my lighting. So change nothing. Absolutely the same. Pop Sophie against the wall. Sophie is, I love working with models who know what to do. Look straight towards the light, or turn her head towards the light. Oh, what? What am I pointing at? Oh, is this in the way? Sorry, everybody's waving at me and I have no idea why. Is that better? Okay. Yeah, good point. Okay, where were we? Oh yeah, adjusting my settings. Here we go. I can dial my settings back. I don't need to be on quite the extreme settings. I can go back to my f8, ISO 200, and then actually, whoops, dial my flash back down as well. Don't show that one, Freya. That's terrible. Oh, Freya always shows the bad ones, doesn't she? No, it's okay. You're allowed to show the bad ones. What I want to do is actually just take a little wide picture, because this is sort of the downside of home studios. You get stuff like this that you just can't control. I mean, that's a light socket. There are mains, electrical cables back there probably. So I can't get rid of that. I have to live with it. I mean, I can Photoshop it out. It's quite simple. But you'll find if you're working from home, you might have to move furniture. You might have to take down paintings. It kind of goes with the territory. If it gives you a blank wall, it's worth the effort. Just make sure you make the most of the wall, which is what we're going to do now. So we've got a blank wall to play with. I kind of like that directional light. It's something I've done many times before, so I thought we'd mix it up a little bit. Let's take this down. Light stands. I should have said about light stands. We've got a promo running at the moment. There is a coupon code going. So if you're in for a new piece of kit, there is some great deals going on. And although you can't scroll down because that's a still image, if you go to that link and you go scroll down, you'll find there's some deals on Flashpoint light stands. Get the tallest light stand you can, because it doesn't matter how tall you think you need it, you'll want it slightly taller. And get one that's slightly more heavy duty than you think you need, because you will need it. They can bend and bow. If you get small, cheap, thin light stands, I'll guarantee you'll want to put them higher. They'll be at the extreme end of their pole usage, and they will bend and bow with heavy lights, even moderate lights. So that's my advice for light stands. Spend more. These light stands are really old. I don't know how old they are, but the lights that I got them for have long since departed. They came from Linko, and I know Adorama sell them, but I don't think Linko make them as good as they did with these. When you find a bit of kit, it's worth spending the extra and then hanging on to it, because it will last and last. Okay, Sophie, you're going to come up to the edge of my softbox, sort of over here somewhere. Lovely. So again, I'm moving Sophie away from the wall. What's going to happen? If I move Sophie away from the wall and I move the light away from the wall, what's going to happen? Okay, that's, well, we can show everybody, can't we? Here we go. You're closer to the light than you were before. Whilst they're thinking about that, I'll just take a light meter reading, because I can. I like using a flash meter. Flash meters are really good because they slow you down. They make you think. They give you accuracy. So you get, or at least consistency, I should say, rather than accuracy. Consistency. And if you have a model who is not a professional, they give them confidence that you know what you're doing, even if you don't. It's that kind of, all the gear, they must know what they're doing. Sounds daft, but that psychological thing gives you that edge when you're trying to work with people who aren't used to being in front of a camera. And Sophie's impressed. Are you not impressed? Always. That's why I love working with Sophie, you see. Thank you, Sophie. Okay, that kind of works quite nicely. So we're back to where we were before. We've turned the white wall into a, well, not a black wall, but a very nearly a dark wall. You can't see the light switch anymore, so that's kind of good. Yeah, that's better. Hopefully that's what you thought would happen. Hopefully. Trouble is, go for it.
Actually a nice message, rather than a question.
Surprised.
No, rather than a question.
Oh, okay.
So Marcus said, first time actually catching Gavin live. You are an amazing instructor. I've been a fan and supporter since you taught me how to fold a reflector 15 years ago. Appreciate you and your team. Thank you, Marcus.
We do that? We should do that. Do that now. We've got a reflector to fold. There we go. Hold it like a steering wheel. Bring it around. Job done. Ta-da. Yeah, no, that's over there. Nothing on the comments? Nothing. Sophie, I'm going to set a light up behind you. Do you want to take the jacket off and pop a hat on?
Actually, Soph's got a question.
Oh, marvellous.
This is Joe. It's for me or Soph. In setting up today, is there a reason for no heels or shoes today?
No, just comfort, to be honest.
It's also quite hot, isn't it?
Yeah, it is hot today, and well, my feet aren't
there
really
is a reason.
in the...
You're already, you're tall enough.
I wasn't going to say that, Gavin.
That's all right, you can say it. I mean, we're both over 6 foot, so it's okay. Yeah, there may not have been a reason for Sophie, but there's definitely a reason for me, because Otherwise I do have to climb up on a stool. And that's okay, there's nothing wrong with that at all. But after a while it does become a little bit tiresome on the legs. So it does help when you can find a model who's literally seeing eye to eye with you in so many ways. Okay, so second light. Let's bring a second light into the scene. So you bought your Explore 300, use the coupon code, well done. Then you're going to go back and get a second light because eventually you're going to need to get one. They need to be a couple of things. It needs to be compatible with that transmitter that you chose right at the start. And this is the, oh, it's back to front. Oh, it's upside down. I knew that didn't look right, but I couldn't put my finger, literally couldn't put my finger on it. This is the R2 system from Flashpoint, or Godox, if that's your personal preference. They're all interchangeable. And it also needs to be, well, I think of a similar power. I watched Daniel's live stream last week where he did something similar but in a more commercial environment, and he was saying, well, put your most powerful light in the background. I don't necessarily agree with that, because in a small studio environment, I say put the light that has the most useful adaptions for getting the light that you want in the background. And in this case, the 200 I love, because although it's about the same power as the 300, they are actually very close when you measure them with a proper flash meter. The 200 has loads of really economic attachments that will transform this light in ways that would be much more difficult with the 300. As you will see shortly. Sophie, come and stand where you were before. Let's.
A couple of people have asked for the link for the promos that's on today, so I'm adding it in the comments here.
You're adding it as me, I think.
I'm adding it as you, yes. I am Gavin Hoey.
I'm doing it as we go. The power I have. Okay, so the next thing is, if you're using multiple lights, have them on different groups. They're both on the same channel. Channels are there if you have multiple photographers in the same room using different sets of lights, but different groups allow me to control the power of group A, which is my key light, and group B, which is the light behind Sophie. So group A is on 1/4 power. Group B, let's put that down to 1/64 power. I have no idea whether that's right or not. Here we go. And remember that dark background that we had before. So now, whoops, oh, that's me. The dark background goes from black to grey. Yep, the light socket is back. Doesn't matter, we can live with that. And that's just by putting that light in the background. And I love the 200. The Evolve 200 has that gorgeous round light output. It's just perfect for a small home studio. But I can control it. I can put this one down to 256 power, because this is the Pro version. The Pro version has a couple of advantages in my book. Main one being I can turn it all the way down to 256 power. The non-Pro is 1 stop brighter. Doesn't sound like a lot, but 1 stop is a huge difference at the low end of the scale. That's really nice. Love that.
Can you just go through some of your kit, please? Someone's asked about the tethering.
Yeah.
And also your lens.
Yep, okay, let's talk cameras. Okay, so cameras. Today I am using the Olympus, now OM system, OM1 as my camera of choice, and my lens is the Olympus, now OM system, 12 to 40 millimeter Mark II, I think this is, although it's pretty much identical to the Mark I, other than a slight difference in coating. That's it. The transmitter is the transmitter on the top. Link to this sort of thing is in the video description. And the cable is a Tether Tools extension cable with an extension on the extension cable, which is a powered repeating cable, because although my studio is 15 feet across, 8 feet wide, I need a 30-foot cable. Because I like to wrap it around and round and round and round. I just do. I just kind of... I have never tripped over this cable. What are you laughing at? They are laughing in the background. I might have tripped over it. Let's just gloss over that. Okay, so I'm going to take a few photos like this. I'm going to go vertical. Kind of love that. So my light is looking great. I love this. But if I go for a horizontal picture, it's in the picture. Now we could clone that out. We've got all sorts of wonderful cloning tools, but there's got to be a better way of doing it than Photoshop. And there is. And the better way is this. Here we go. Oh, this, which one is that? That one. There we go, high as it goes. All the way up the top. 15 feet by 8 feet is my studio space. But the question you should ask isn't how big is your studio, how tall is your studio? Because you cannot get any more height. And height I will trade for width every single day in a studio. So that is bouncing right up against the rafters on the roof. And if you've ever had a low ceiling, you know how annoying it is, or that your model has to sit down for every photo, which limits posing. Okay, so now I can go wider and I don't have to Photoshop out my light anymore. Yay! Awesome. And of course, do remember, take a wide picture every now and again, just as a reference picture so you know what's going on. Super, super useful. Okay, that's pretty good. How are we doing for time? Oh my goodness, look at the time. So, what else can we do with this light? Well, we don't have to have it directly behind Sophie. We can put it off to the side. There we go. Let's put it way up there. And we can shine this light down the wall. So I've separated Sophie out. I'm using a softbox. I'm using a grid. We know we've got control of the lights. We've designed this into the system that the background is going to go dark. So effectively, I'm lighting two things. I'm lighting Sophie, and I'm lighting the background. I'm not going to touch the light on Sophie. It's going to remain exactly where it was before. It's on 1/4 power. My settings, for those that want to know, 250th of a second flash sync speed. If you want to find out more about that, wind back to the beginning of the video. F8 for a good depth of field, and ISO 200, native ISO for Olympus OM cameras. Okay, so, sorry, this was a test photo, Sophie. Same sort of idea, but now we've got light coming in from the side. Yeah, it's all right. It's all right. We can do better, and we're going to do better with a grid. So this is the grid that you can get for the Explore Evolve 200, get it right. Grids are just things to control and direct light, and these are great. It comes in a kit with some gels. Hopefully there's a link in the video description. Can't remember if it's in there or not, but they're cheap. They are, if you can see, mine is hammered. Yep, mine is absolutely hammered. I've had these for years. It just keeps working. I mean, I say that, it does fall out every now and again. Let's see if we can get it. Oh, no, we're in. Ah, total confidence.
User error, I would say.
It gets used. It will take away a stop or more of light, so I'm going to dial my background light up to 64th power. Test photo, here we go, Chloe. Chloe, oh my God.
Start calling him Kevin or something.
Yeah. No, call me Daniel. Call me Daniel. That's a better. Oh, dear me. Oh, can we get name badges? Maybe we can get it on your hat. Get like a hat with your name on it. That'd be good. Dear. It's all right. We'll take it out in the edit. Okay. Kind of nice. I'm going to take the light up on Sophie a little bit, so let's take it up to 1/2 power. Here we go. So I'm just lifting the light on Sophie because I'm just looking at that thinking it needs a touch more, but I'm also looking at the wrong screen. I should look at my actual screen that's vaguely calibrated. That looks probably not far off, but it isn't quite what I'm after. It's a bit safe. It's a bit sensible. It's okay. And Sophie, I'm actually going to move you. It's easier to move you than move the light. If you can just sort of come to here. So before, Sophie was at the back of the light. Now I've moved her so she is at the front edge of the light. So most of the light is going to miss her, and she's only going to be lit by this little bit up here. But Sophie, if you look up at this light here, can you see any of the white bits through the grid?
I can indeed.
So if Sophie can see the white bits, the light will reach her. That's how it works. Okay, you're going to need to look towards the light a bit. Thank you very much. Okay, she's a bit closer than she was before. But see how much more dramatic that light is? That is kind of safe and sensible. It's okay. Now we've got a lot more shadows going on here, much more depth. We still have the plug socket. Light in Sophie's eyes, absolutely gorgeous, looks really good. As she gets closer to me, she becomes not taller, but relatively taller. So I'm just going to get myself a little bit taller.
What's the ceiling height? Marco's asked.
Okay, so the ceiling height, we're lucky in here that we are open to the ceiling, but the joists are 7'10", I think, thereabouts. So we have a usable, a working height of just under 8 feet. Okay, that's really nice. I like that. What would it look like in black and white? Let's go black and white and find out. I'm going to pop this into black and white mode on my camera, and I'm going to dial in the same settings. Nothing's changed. So if you want to do black and white, post-processing is definitely the place. But if you've got a nice setup like this, why not try a bit of black and white? That looks gorgeous. Fantastic. I've got it on quite a contrasty black and white, but I'm shooting everything in RAW, so everything is adjustable in post-processing. Fantastic. But there's a question that's been burning on people's minds, and I want to answer it right now because it's really important. The question I know you've been asking is, what happens if you change that light for something else? Is there a version of the light strainer that will fit the Evolve 200? Meet version 3. Yes, I haven't been sitting around doing nothing for the last few months. I've been redesigning the light strainer. It does look like something from Starlink. You can probably get satellite TV with that. But there it is, version 3. What do you reckon? Pretty good? Now, if you've missed out on the whole light strainer thing, you've missed all the live streams. This limited edition piece of kit is exclusively available in all good kitchen retailers and Swedish homeware stores.
They're very excited, very excited. Jeff said, my question is, where is the light strainer on the deals page? I know, Jeff, I know. We're pushing for it. Yay, the return of the light strainer. And Brad, version 3. Brad, you're so excited, I can see.
Yeah, here it is, version 3 of the light strainer. New and improved. It's more efficient than it was before, because it has the cheap reflector at the back. What does it do, though, is the question. What it does is it needs a lot more power. So I'm going to take the power up to maybe 1/8 power back there. It's a bit of a power hungry. Oh, we've got it in black and white. Okay, well, we'll live with black and white, and that's fine. Okay, whoa, that's a bit too bright. Hey, the new efficient light strainer is more powerful than I thought. Here we go. So it throws a little bit of light back there, which is kind of fun. Let's go vertical. I think we want to angle it down a little bit. Honestly, they told me that this thing was not good enough for commercial use because it's not controllable. Are you mad? It's definitely controllable. They also said they could buy one in IKEA, but you know, I take offense to that. Just take a little step that way for me. I've just realized a really good way of covering the light switch. There you go. I don't have to clone it out anymore. Sophie's in front of it. Probably the easiest solution. Why didn't I think of that? Okay, go back to color. Yeah, look at this, no more light switch. Oh, this is so much better. I do have to adjust my flash because Sophie stepped away from it. Okay, how are we doing on the time? We've got cool for now, we're doing all right. So that works really nicely. We'll do one more back here as well. We could put a gel on there as well, so we can add some color to the light behind Sophie. But as a quick question to the chat, what color would you like? What do you want? What color do you think would be best? Any color you like, just put it in the chat and just tell me what color you think would be best to go on there.
Are you putting it in your light strainer?
I can't, no, that's a version 3.5. We're working on that.
Oh, is it? Because Alan just asked, have you ever tried a gel with your strainer?
It's you know, Alan, I can't tell you, Alan, because there's NDAs everywhere on this, but let's just say that's a good idea.
NDA, never demonstrate again.
Let's see. There we go. So I don't know if you've got any suggestions on what colour?
Of course. They're very active.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, so
I can't see the chat, so I have no idea.
No, blue, we've got red, purple, blue, purple, magenta.
I'm hearing mostly
cyan,
blues.
blue, green or blue, gold, red, teal. Oh, lovely. Yeah.
So mostly blue, yeah?
We've got red. Did you want to use blue by any chance?
Yeah, blue. I hadn't thought of blue.
Red.
That's sort of a greeny blue colour. Yeah, comes in the kit. Okay, I think blue is the colour. I'm going to take an average out of that and say blue. Here we go. So we can actually change the colour. Sorry, quick test photo. And just put a bit of blue. Oh, look, blooming heck. That way from me. Okay, fantastic. Fantastic, there we go. Problem solved. We can take a bit of blue in and just throw a bit of blue in there, and we can control that, of course, by changing the power of the background light. So we could make it 1/8 power, and that will make that a lot more blue. It'll spread and grow and look and feel completely different just by changing the power. Awesome. Okay. We've got 10 minutes. We can do the last thing in 10 minutes. Okay, so let's move this out of the way and set this up. Oh, squeaky. That's a sign of a quality light stand. Yep, that's quality. Let's move this out of the way as well. So we've looked at hiding the kitchen in our home location by basically making it dark. We've looked at using a blank wall, whether it's a white wall, or magnolia. Does anyone still paint their walls magnolia? Red wall, any colour you like, it's just a blank wall. So we're going to go back to the kitchen area and get rid of this in another way. And the way is by covering it up. So we're going to completely cover the wall. I'm going to get myself a light stand. So this is part of the magnetic kit from Manfrotto. And this is a really useful kit. It's solidly built, it packs down really small, so you can store it away, and it doubles up as an extra light stand if you want to use it as just a light stand. Now the tricky, oh, there it is. Suddenly realised I'd lost something important. This bit. Sorry, they're waving bits of paper at me. It's so high tech, this. Okay, so I'm going to set this up. And they reminded me, which is really important, if you are enjoying this, if you've made it this far into the live stream, A, congratulations, and B, I'm going to guess you enjoy long-form video content. Adorama has a whole channel dedicated to long-form video, Adorama Events, the channel, and they've got a whole bunch of stuff coming for the photography, World Photography Day over the weekend. So go check out Adorama Events on YouTube. And there's some really good long-form videos in there. They're a little, well, they're very different to this. They're much more planned, more kind of, I'm going to call them PowerPoint, but I don't mean that in a bad way. You know, they're actually thought out stuff rather than live action chaos. I'm not sure chaos is quite, is it chaos?
I don't know what you mean. And don't forget everyone, if you're enjoying this, please click the like.
Yep, and the subscribe button.
And the subscribe button.
Unless you've already clicked the subscribe button, in which case...
Don't do it again.
No, just the once.
The bell icon, don't do that twice.
I don't know, can you do it twice? Do it 3 times. Yeah. All right, okay, so really quickly, we're going to do blurry backgrounds. So I've got this lovely Manfrotto concrete background. I like these sorts of backgrounds. Pop-up backgrounds collapse down really small. That's kind of useful. But mostly it has 2 surfaces. So you've got 2 different backgrounds from one bit of kit, double duty again. It has a pattern that is reasonably sharp. It's not sort of as sharp as a real thing, but it's sharp enough. Come on in then, Soph, and let's take a picture of you like this. Okay, so we're going to light in. And I'm going to switch lenses. So I'm going to switch from my zoom lens to the 45mm, what was that? The 45mm f1.2 lens. The nice thing about working in your kitchen is you've got lots of space just to put things down. The downside of that is I forget where I've put everything. Yeah. Okay. Oh, there's the floor. I've not mentioned it yet, but I really want to at this point. invest in some sandbags. Okay. They are useful for things beyond photography. I've used these outside in the garden for weighing down marquees and holding umbrellas down and all sorts of things. So yeah, photography, you definitely want them for that, but like everything, if you're working from home, they've got to do more than one thing and make them heavy. There was a whole debate on Daniel's live stream about what to put in sandbags. Gravel, I used 10mm pea shingle, washed, cleaned, dried. If anyone's really interested. Okay, so 1.4, let's go with that. f1.4 is my favorite aperture for this lens. And you might think, great, f1.4, we can just snap away. Here's what we get. It lets in so much light. I can't dial the flash down enough using the same settings as we've used. So how am I going to get a shallow depth of field in here as quickly as possible using the kit I've got? How am I going to do it? Good question. How am I going to do it? Okay, turn that off and turn that on. Yep, the Explore 300 Pro has a very good modelling lamp. It's a 20-watt LED. It's really good. Take the flash off. I don't need that anymore. Switch to aperture priority mode. I'll have to whack up my ISO a little bit, so let's go for 640 ISO, f1.4, and Sophie, I'm going to get the light as close to you as I reasonably can. In fact, we can lose the grid because that's just sucking up power as well. Okay, lovely, and I'm going to put a sandbag on that because that's wobbling like crazy. There we go, all done. Okay. So the answer is, turn all the room lights off if you can, use the modelling lamp, and use your camera's ability to focus and work in relatively low light conditions I would never have dreamed of just a few years ago. Now your model has to stay a bit more still because you don't get that freezing power of flash. We'll try and get one in focus. Here we go. And if you've got image stabilization, now's the time to test it, put it on, use it. But that's pretty sharp. I'm happy with that. And we have that lovely blurry background. So Sophie is less than a meter away from the background, and yet it has that lovely softness to it. So that's, at a pinch, how to use your existing kit and get a lovely shallow depth of field. Did anybody put high-speed sync flash in the comments?
Yeah, lots of people. Yeah. Yeah, HSS, high-speed sync, HSS. Yeah.
And they're not wrong. It's not the wrong thing to do. It's just there is always other options. Use the kit you've got. You'd get a much smoother, much sharper picture with high-speed sync flash. But then you've got the whole thing of what is high-speed sync flash? How does it work? And we only have 5 minutes left on this demo, so that worked. Okay, speaking of 5 minutes left, Sophie, would you want to just step out of the way? Because I really don't want to hit you on anything or drop anything on you. So I'm actually going to finish by building an entire studio set right here in the space that we have. And how much space is it, out of interest? Hold that in for me. There you go. Pop it on the background. That's it. Yeah, that's it. Perfect. It is 10 feet. Thanks, Sophie. 10 feet by 8 feet. That's all we've got to work with. 10 feet by 8 feet. Could you take a full-length portrait in 10 feet by 8 feet? Possibly not, actually, but we'll give it a best shot. So I have not one, but two. I said at the beginning, working in a small studio isn't the cheapest way of working. Having two, well, they're supposed to be identical, but one's about 10 years older than the other. One's from Manfrotto, one's from Lastalite, before they were Manfrotto. Things may have changed a little bit in that time, but they're the same pattern. Let's see if we can just get that on there. So I've made a background and a floor. Perfect, near enough. Okay. Yeah, good. Then all we need is something for Sophie to sit on. Okay. Here we go. There we go, one box. And then we'll bring the light down to Sophie's height. We put the grid on there, let's put the grid back on. Grids are super useful. I tend to keep the grid on more than not in the small studio space because we don't have the luxury of room to spread ourselves out and control the light with space. We have to control the light with control, like grids. Okay, yeah, something like that. That's pretty good. Camera, follow the orange cable. That's why I love the orange cables. Follow the orange cable, you'll find the camera.
I was just going to read out a funny comment. As you hope it, I was away for a minute and now you're faking a moon landing.
Oh, well, yeah, hopefully we'll do a real moon. I'll be up for that. Let's do real moon landing. Okay, where are we? We want to be on F8. That's close enough. 1/4 power. Yeah, throw that on the floor. That's where it lives. That's where it lives on a live stream at the end of the live stream. Okay, so flash meter gives me a pretty good idea, but it does help if you dial in not F1.4 or the equivalent. Don't look at that one. You didn't put that one on the screen, did you, Freya? No, of course not. No, good. Good, I know, you're well trained. Okay, that's not too bad. That's not too bad, that's getting there. I'm just going to feather the light away. So this is no different to what we were doing earlier. Feathering the light, getting it closer. Let's bring it down a little bit. Lovely. Sophie, can you still see any of the white?
Yeah.
The light will see you. Okay. Okay, it's closer so I can turn the power down. That's not bad. We're getting there. So we're getting some nice light coming through. I just want to feather it even further away. I'm turning it away from the background just to try and get control of that background. And we're getting there. Is it possible to delete the last 3 minutes of this live stream? Is there like a wind back button?
Sure, no
good.
problem.
Okay, good. Just forget that last. That's not supposed to be happening. There's a few things I may have to change. Right. So Sophie sat on a box. We'll pick it up from there. Drop this bit in. Slice it there. Put it back in. Sophie sat on the box. I got the light probably feathered far too much. Yeah, way too much now. And then yeah. This is what happens on a shoot. You change something, and then you forget what you've changed. You can guess. Have a guess. What did I forget to change? The answer might surprise you. Okay, there we go. So that's what we're after. We're after that kind of nice graduated background, nicer lighting on Sophie. And I'm going to add a little bit of a color in here as well. So let's just dial that in. Again, I would really color these in post-processing, but for now, that's pretty good. There we go, just add a slight tinge and tint of color. Maybe that's a little heavy. There we go, dial that back. And I'm going to finish by adding an extra light in. We've got multiple lights. If you've got more than one light, add the lights in. Let's get that light. And we can put this in as a little separation light just behind Sophie, like that. Okay, aiming it at her shoulders, turning it on, which is super useful, and keeping it fairly low power because it's pointing straight at me. I probably want to be on maybe 1/64th power. Let's see what it does on its own. Multiple lights, break it down, one light at a time. What does it do? It throws a little bit of light on Sophie's shoulders, a little bit of light on Sophie's hat. I just turn it a little to the side. There we go. That's better. And a little bit of light on the background, which I can live with. Okay, and we'll take a few pictures like this. Okay, Sophie, here we go. Awesome. How am I doing for time? Oh, I'm slightly over. Of course. Well, we're kind of coming to the end of the live stream. So if you haven't already done so, have we mentioned the coupon code? Let's do the coupon code. There is a coupon code. I'm going to take some photos whilst you're watching that. Coupon code, if you're in the market for some Flashpoint softboxes, light stands, or flashes themselves, like the ones I'm using in this live stream.
I'm just going to add the link to the comments. So it's under Gavin's name in the comments if you'd like to go and use the code.
I think the coupon runs until the end of the month, so not long. I'd like to thank Adorama for making that possible. That was a nice surprise. Fantastic. Superb. Sophie, bring the whole box towards me a little bit. Hopefully you found this useful. I'm actually taking some photos now, so I'm kind of sidetracked. This is... And if you have, great. Let us know in the comments, because we have more stuff coming up. If you wanted something more advanced, Daniel has got you covered next week right here on Adorama TV, where he's doing more advanced lighting. I should definitely watch that and learn a thing or two. We're going to be back again in 4 weeks' time, doing, actually I don't know what. You'll find out in a couple of weeks. Gorgeous, that's really nice. Last couple of pictures. And yes, I'm getting absolutely maximum value out of Sophie. And I've switched to black and white because Sophie looks amazing in black and white. Gorgeous. And of course, remember to take a wide picture. Fantastic, there we go. Done. Amazing. Wow. That was a fantastic work. So we're done for today. Hopefully you found that useful. There's some ideas on ways you can work in a small space, building up your techniques from exposure, making things go dark, through to breaking down your scene into light bits and dark bits and controlling them separately, and then making your own studio in 10 feet of space, which is a challenge, but great fun. So if you've enjoyed it, great, leave us a thumbs up, leave us a comment, really useful. Let's do a few thank yous. Thank you to Freya for being awesome on the Super Switcher. What? Sophie for being a fantastic model. Sam on the Super, oh no, you're on the comments. Sam on the comments.
Thanks to everybody for your comments and also answering each other's questions. Really, really useful and quite funny tonight as well. Lots of lovely comments on there. Thank you.
We're done for another 4 weeks, so we're going to be back in 4 weeks' time right here on Adorama TV, so join us live for that. I'm Gavin Hoey. Thanks for watching.